Welcome to ILTACON Live from the Gaylord National Harbor at the 2025 International Legal Technology Association's annual conference. I'm Ari Kaplan. I'm an analyst that covers the industry, principal of Ari Kaplan Advisors, and one of the lucky hosts of this unique series. So I am joined today by Julie Brown, the Director of Practice Technology at Voorhees, Catherine Monte, the Chief Knowledge and Innovation Officer at Fox Rothschild, and Gary Berger, the Director of Information Security at Ogletree Deacons. Wonderful to see you all.
Nice
Good to see you, Ari.
It's great to be here.
I'm super excited, as you can tell. I've been to many ILTAs, but each one of them is just better and better. So, Julie, I want to start with you.
Okay.
How long have you been an ILTA volunteer, and what's the biggest change that you've seen in legal technology?
Okay, that's two questions. Okay, I started volunteering back in 2006 as what we called a city rep at the time, which are now we call member liaisons, and started just hosting local meetings, and eventually created a lit support conference for a day in Ohio that we used to do, and then I've just continued to volunteer in different roles, including the ILTACON committee and now the board of directors. So. The biggest change I've seen in legal, I think I have to say, is generative AI. I hate to bring it up because a lot of people are saying they've heard so much of it this week, but it really is, going to transform how we work and how our attorneys work. And I actually think the entire business, based on the keynote this morning, is going to completely transform.
I've been through many of these transitions. I was practicing during the internet boom and bust. I was practicing during several different catastrophes in our industry, and I'm also fascinated by what this is going to mean. So, Catherine, one of the questions that comes up a lot is the alignment of knowledge management, the hygiene of your data as people start to deploy some of these tools. What's the advantage of connecting knowledge management, innovation, as firms continue to start to integrate artificial intelligence?
It's funny, at our firm it all sits together, and I think it just makes so much sense because of those synergies across all of those disciplines. And if you don't have your data clean and correct, you can't take advantage of these new technologies in the best way possible. You can't accelerate as fast as you'd like. So I think the fact that you have practitioners that are very close to the attorneys, and we really sit at the nexus of the practice and technology together. When a new technology comes in, we already have the foundational sort of, I'll say, connections in place with the lawyers, with the other business, departments, and we can bring it together more quickly, is what I would say. So knowledge management is very close to the practice. It's very close to, making sure we have the right, I'll say, templates and, playbooks and all of that together. And when this new technology comes in, you have to make sure all of that is in order to take advantage of that new technology, is what I would say.
Well, so Gary, as people are taking advantage of this, so I've been producing a lot of research on this topic, polling lots of leaders in law firms and in corporate legal departments, and I always ask about fear. What's the fear? It seems like the fear has gone from fear it's going to do something to my job to fear of like, oh, I'm going to get it wrong, but also there's a fear of security. And so what are the security implications of this rapidly changing environment where you really have to make decisions quickly but thoroughly?
Yeah, they're fairly profound, Ari. You were talking about data. The thing that just kind of resonates in my mind about that is data cleanliness, right? It's not really so much a security issue, it's data governance, but the two overlap, very closely. I was talking to someone this morning, and, law firms are predominantly optimistic about their trust model. They assume everybody within the firm should have access to everything. And we retain our data. There isn't a lot of deletion. So the data that's out there that these models are learning from, a lot of it's stale. So it's drawing incorrect inferences and things of that nature. But then there's the other aspect of this too, which is this is a new tech. Well, I was going to say it's a new technology, but it's not, because Hebbian learning and different things like that have been around since the 60s, right? AI has been around in some form or another for a long time. But as now this information starts making it into these large language models and neural infrastructures, it's abstracted, you have to be concerned about the security of that, right? Law firms aren't specialists in software development life cycle, right? We do things, we get the job done, but there are true software developers out there in the industry that know that lockstep. So I think we need to be thinking along those lines about how we bring those practices into our environment.
It seems like, I feel like I say this every year at ILTACON, but it seems like we're in an inflection now. That there's a moment here. Maybe that moment has lasted several years, but we're sort of in something right now. And so, Julie, what do you expect the most common takeaways for people to be from ILTACON 2025?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to walk away going, we're here, we're in it. It's not coming, we're already in it. And I think some people may have come here looking for new tools or products, thinking, oh, this is the future. And I think what we're seeing in a lot of the sessions is it's the now. And it's a little intimidating, I think, and especially in the keynote this morning, the future law firm and the way she described it. At the end, she was like, does anybody have questions? And I think we were all just sitting there going, wow, or at least I was. And we did have a couple of questions, but I think it was very overwhelming to hear the trends she's seen and her vision of where law firms are going to be in 2035, I think she said. So really just took me, shocked me, I guess, a little bit. So
2035 is a long
10
time
years,
horizon. I'm like
10
sometimes 6 months. I'm like, wow, that's a long time horizon. But just to paraphrase, I guess Yogi Berra, right? It's getting late early in some respects in our space, and so I feel like when I'm having conversations with law department leaders, particularly general counsel, with legal operations leaders, with CIOs, with heads of COOs at law firms, with innovation leaders, they want to make the right decision. They want to do it quickly. So what happens now? Like, has the pace of change in legal technology, has it surprised you? Has it changed your strategy at all?
I'll say this. I thought we were sort of on the downside, and we are not on the downside. Things are just going to continue to sort of go up that curve. What I would say is we are in the midst of this, per what Julie is saying. So, but we have some lessons learned already, I feel, with some of what's already out in the marketplace. And I might sound old-fashioned, but you know the adage, people, process, and technology? We're emphasizing the technology a little too much and ignoring the people and the process part. And I would like to hope that we can sort of step back a little and keep pace with that technology, but understand the education part of this, the process, bringing people along. Like, some people are scared. Some people are experimenting with everything, but understanding the nuances of the new tools, trying to teach, attorneys to make sure that they look at their work product before they send it out to someone, that kind of thing. That education is so paramount now because, again, we're sort of still in that upward curve, in my opinion, and that can't be ignored. That's what I would say.
So Gary, I know actually, I'm lucky to know a lot about all of your firms, but particularly your firm. And it's a dynamic firm, an innovative firm. I know its leaders. Have you seen different teams, though, driving change in law firms in the sense of a collaboration between all the different disciplines, finance, operations, security, other management, and are they working more closely together now than ever before?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, right? I thought about this a lot. There was a book I read some years ago that talked about the different eras of information systems. And at the time I read the book, I think there was like 3 eras, and now there's like 6, and with the most recent being augmented cognition, right? So what I've seen happen, of course, over this evolution of technology is it used to be the mainframe, and you came to the information systems department to do whatever you wanted to do. And they had business analysts that were supposed to understand the business and help them come up with the solutions. Roll forward to where we are now, and what I guess you could refer to it as is adjacent technology, right? So we have business departments that are enabled to select and implement their own solutions. So what is the role of technology in that environment, right? I mean, we own the infrastructure, we keep the pipes working, and all of the other things, but we also are adopting, I think, a new role of being more active with governance. So, I have seen new teams evolve. Of course, we have our K&I team led up by Dave Bullen, who's just fantastic, and Tim Fox. That team is between 70 and 80 people. They are as large as our IT department. And honestly, in my opinion, they are the next generation IT department. So the role of the IT operations team is kind of changing. It's a little bit more behind the scenes, but we are actively working with these teams to enable them and help them leverage the technologies that they need and do it successfully and securely, obviously. Right.
Are each of you seeing that as well, that there's sort of this multidisciplinary group of leaders who are really listening to each other and
Absolutely, yeah.
Stumbling through the the craziness together, absolutely. We rely very, very much on our security teams. They're part and parcel of the process now, for sure.
So, Julie, I want to ask you this. So, there's a great movie. It's called Draft Day. It's with Kevin Costner, and he's trying to make draft picks. And I'm a big sports fan, and I like sports movies. And in the movie, he talks about this moment where Joe Montana's in the Super Bowl, and he says, the great ones have a way of slowing things down. And so, I feel like there's some message here at ILTA, like, learn and see and be overwhelmed in the moment, but try to slow it down to figure out what really works for you. So what takeaways do you feel like you're hoping that people, not just takeaways, but what questions are you hearing? Do you expect them to be able to answer when they get back?
Yeah, I think with respect to slowing down, I think one thing to always keep in mind is when you're looking at technology, what problem are you trying to solve? And if you can't just go by the shiny new object and start creating stuff that's not actually solving a problem. You also have to have some metrics in place to understand why you're solving that problem and what the impact is to the law firm. So I think for a lot of people, they're hearing from other firms that are actually rolling out systems and there was a session on the AI journey and different law firms where they're talking about their journey so far. And I think you could learn a lot from that as far as, the stop points and the points where you're doing that check-in to say, are we really doing what we need to be doing? So, yeah, I think there's been a lot of sessions on Gen AI, and I think just sharing the experiences with everybody is really helpful.
I've actually seen more than ever technology leaders, security leaders coming to this conference with their managing partner or other leaders at their firm, some even bringing their clients, because I've really been hearing a lot more from clients saying, I wish we could learn more from our firm. I wish our firms would be more proactive about showing us what they're doing. So, Catherine, over the years, you've been a volunteer for ILTA for some time. Are there moments that stand out either at ILTACON or in other ways that really resonate and bring some memories back for you?
Well, there's so many memories. There's no way I can pick one. It's a series of memories, it's a series of moments. And I would say it changes. I've been a board member, I've been a strategic relationship liaison, I've been a knowledge management, whatever, I forget what that was called 20 years ago. But to me, what's most important are the connections. I'm just going to go back to people. It's the connection. So like yesterday, we were in a room talking about knowledge management. We broke up at different tables. I was at the table of Future of KM. And the buzz and the energy of that, new people that I met, what we took away, to me, that's what ILTA's about. So yes, it's wonderful to hear about all the new tools, but it's to say, hey, you used that new tool. What happened? What were your lessons learned? All of those kinds of connections to me are what ILTA's all about. So again, I've been volunteering for over 20 years, and there's so many moments like that. But to me, it still comes back to the people, and like these wonderful people right here, serving on the board with them. No, it's true. Getting through tough decisions and that kind of thing, establishing those relationships. I never would have met either one of them in my normal day-to-day. And those relationships have enriched me. And that to me is what ILTA's all about.
Wow.
Excuse me.
Well, so, all right, so Gary, you're up here. I love the vibe that we're having right now. But you mentioned this time horizon of 2035, but really these decisions are we're looking at much shorter time horizons now. And I wonder, what do you think the themes that we will be discussing a year from now at ILTA 2026 in Nashville will be?
Yeah, it's a good question. A lot of the same, right? AI is going to be on the forefront for quite a while. I mean, in many ways, it's kind of in its inception, even though what I said earlier is still true, but the application of it now is very different. And of course, we have agentic AI, and we're going to have agents and things of that, so that's going to be in the forefront more and more. And as we adopt it more and more, we're going to be more and more concerned about the governance issues and the security issues, so I think those are going to evolve. But then there's also the human element of this as well, right? What does it mean for the people who need to use this technology? And how do we train them so that they can get the most out of it, right? So I think that's going to be an emerging theme as we go along as well.
Speaking of training, what skills, Catherine, what skills do you feel like new professionals in this industry will need to thrive and become board members in some years, next year by ILTA 2035, but just thinking, like, what are those skills that you feel like will be enduring and what will maybe emerge?
I'm going to say they're the same skills, but maybe we're amplify a few of them up
Thank you.
a little bit, but it's listening. It's listening to many people. It's understanding different perspectives. It's knowing what the industry is about, knowing what threats are happening. So it's being informed, and I would say it's this may sound funny, more of a generalist as well as someone who's smart with the technology, but it's not just the technology is what I'm trying to say. It's about understanding what is the impact on that attorney, on the firm, on the business. If you don't have that piece, it's hard to you're a little bit in a vacuum. So to me, it's expanding the tech skills with the industry knowledge, the firm business knowledge, and putting all that together is what I would say.
When my kids were little, they'd get a toy or something. In fact, when they started wanting to cook, I'd always have to get up and make breakfast. My wife would be at the gym. And then at some point, they were probably too little for this. I'd be like, you guys should make breakfast. And my son's like, well, what happens if we burn ourselves? And I'm always like, you only do that once. Like, you'll figure it out. And every time they'd have a toy, I'd say, you guys try. And if it doesn't work and break something, we'll figure it out. So Julie, what do we do about that mindset in a law firm where it's so much more about taking certain calculated, trying things, and changing the culture a little bit to experiment in I practiced for nearly 9 years. It's a profession of certainty in many respects, and a lot of this work, it requires a little bit of an adventurous mindset.
It really does, and I was going to say everything Catherine said was great, and I was like also, taking those calculated risks, not being afraid to fail, because that's so much of what we're doing right now. I usually try to do it on something that's not client-facing, and run as much of my testing as I can without negatively impacting somebody, but really trying to learn the tools and take kind of incremental steps before you put it out there to reduce as much risk as you can. But I do think we are in a period where people definitely need to be able to fail and then get back at it. Yeah.
So Gary, where do people get started? How if I'm watching this and I someday want to be a board member, I want to get into leadership, I want to get more involved in this wonderful organization, where do you recommend people get started?
Well, there are so many opportunities in ILTA to volunteer, right? And we have a really good structure, and we're really deliberately working on making sure there's some progression. So you can be on a content committee and helping select things, and then you can become a committee co-chair, and then you can migrate up through the council. And all of that is just making you aware of, the culture and the way ILTA works, and that's certainly really helpful. I'm a little bit different animal. I kind of came in a little bit differently. I had spoken. I also was on the Legal Sex Steering Committee But predominantly it was just the experience that I had within my firm that I think I brought to the board, right? And my orientation towards security. So I think focusing on that is a good way to come in as well. It's always good on a team to have somebody who doesn't really have the group think, so to say, and have the same perspective as everybody else. I think I kind of jokingly called myself the director with questions, right? So we have a new role called director with portfolio, but I'm the director with questions.
You asked so many great questions though that wouldn't have come to light if we didn't have
Thank you.
right?
Yeah.
So it was important.
So I think, understanding the organization, its mission, its values, seeing where you align with that personally and how you want to support it, and then set out to find a track. Talk to people like us, talk to other volunteers, and start your journey.
And I would add something to that because the Talent Council really put forth a lot of effort this year to cast a wide net in terms of applications. And purposely, because we wanted the diversity of experience, we wanted the different perspectives. So leadership can come in many forms, and you don't have to do the traditional, I'll call it ladder approach. Sometimes it's like that, and sometimes it's like that. So, as Gary said, we want a board that really has fresh perspectives, comes in with different, again, experiences, and comes together to make the best decisions for the organization.
Well, you say leadership comes in many forms, but this is the purest, most generous form, and I'm grateful to be hosting this little segment of ILTACON Live, the inaugural ILTACON Live at ILTACON 2025. And Catherine, Julie, Gary, it's really been a privilege. Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Ari.
Thank
It's a
you for the
pleasure.
opportunity.
Yeah.